Welcome to the Up in Your Family Business podcast, where we dive into the heart of family business with intimate interviews, expert insights, inspirational stories, valuable resources, and practical tips to help grow your family business. I want to start by thanking you for listening to and or watching this episode of Up in Your Family Business podcast. Your time is limited, and we all know there are many options out there, many podcasts, many things trying to grab your attention. So I'm humbled and grateful that you chose this podcast episode. The goal and purpose of this podcast, with the help of our guests, are to help family businesses gain insights, solve problems, seize opportunities, and achieve multi-generational prosperity. Today's guest is Mitch Renfro, third generation at Renfro Productions and Management, which is located in East Central Indiana. Mitch has been leading their sales department since 2015. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. You think so? You lost track of time.
So, yeah, I guess
You're not that old yet, right? And he also supports the team with marketing and advertising, and even contributes to operations and production. So, and you know, in the way Renfro works, everybody has their main role, but everyone's helping everybody. You kind of when you're in the consumer trade show space and you're doing production, everybody, there is no like, that's not my job description, right?
It's a team effort.
It's
for
a
sure.
big time. I mean, from front to back, right?
Oh yeah, from everyone. I mean, we're a tight knit company that all works together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when it comes to show season, it gets crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it takes the whole tribe to get these things
You're
off.
You're all wearing the same hats, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just maybe a different order.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Just a couple of other things I have here. Your experience in the consumer trade show business dates back, I'm sure, to your childhood, correct?
Yep.
So is it safe to assume, so you obviously, as an adult, became an official member of the team, part of the family business. But my guess is, I kind of envision, anytime I talk to someone like you, when there's a family business and there's a lot of activity like this, my guess is you've probably been a part of this, either coming into the office or actually at the shows since you were a little kid, maybe since you were able to walk.
Oh yeah. I mean, it goes back to going to the office with my dad, because we lived out in the country, and this was before high-speed internet was about to where we were. So as a kid, the only time I got to go on the internet was going to the office with my dad.
Didn't have it at home.
No, so it was really fun for me as a kid to go there. And then just as a show, I would go to the show every weekend with my dad. And then, I started at the Trout Pond, which is not even our company, but it's one of our exhibitors. And he's just a guy that we've known forever. And I just kept showing up, and he just said, well, if you're going to keep coming around here, I'm going to put you to work.
There you go.
And I said, well, what do you want me to do? So I helped kids take fish off the hooks, and that was my first, kind of job at the sports show.
You could have had a career at SeaWorld, right?
Yeah, I was almost, I mean,
you really could have.
I learned from the very bottom.
There you go. Kind of had earned your way, right?
Yeah.
Except back then you didn't get paid much, probably.
Or
paid at all.
You know what? It was just the fact that I was allowed to stay and fish.
Yeah,
so that's all I needed as a kid.
Man, that was smart.
Yeah.
Didn't have to pay anybody.
Yep.
You had no idea you were being...
In the end, it was a fair trade, because I was like, I got to fish all day long.
That's not bad.
And then my dad would come check on me, and then I didn't officially start making money with the company until I started working at the rock wall. We have a rock wall there at the show. We used to, and then I started working there, and then that's when the counterbalance where money was involved there.
So you got an agent, and then you started getting paid.
Yeah. He told me, it's like, hey, listen, you're losing this deal here.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. Well, listen, thanks for that. I appreciate that. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I thanked our audience for giving some of their time, and I thank you for being here as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about this conversation. So let's jump in. The title for this episode is Another Renfro Production: 70 Years of Connecting Outdoor Enthusiasts and Businesses.
Yep.
In this special episode, we dive into the storied history. Now I'm setting expectations here, so you better deliver for me.
All right.
Okay. This is a big one. In this special episode, we dive into the storied history of Renfro Productions, a family-owned leader synonymous with consumer trade shows for the past 70 years. We will explore the journey of the original owners who laid the foundation for what would become an annual destination for outdoor enthusiasts. I'm looking forward to hearing about your grandparents. It's going to be really fun.
Yep.
I know we talked a little bit before this, but I look forward to hearing more about that. We'll take a nostalgic look at the traditions that have kept generations coming back and examine how Renfro Productions has remained relevant and innovative over the decades while maintaining its core family values, like you mentioned there, before high-speed internet, right?
Yeah.
You were just talking about just doing work.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that's changed for you guys. From the days of print ads and word of mouth to the dynamic digital world, discover how Renfro Productions has adapted and thrived. So I'm setting big expectations here for you, Mitch. Our conversation aims to offer a unique perspective on the balance between preserving tradition and embracing change, while highlighting the passion and dedication behind one of the most enduring names in the consumer trade show space. So whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, a family business leader, or just intrigued by family-owned enterprises, which some people are. You're not even in the family business space, but you're fascinated by family business.
Yep.
You will find this episode informative, inspirational, and I hope that's up to us, right?
Yeah, inspirational. That's a big word. There,
inspirational.
Right. Now it's really on.
Yeah, I know. We'll be informative, hopefully inspirational, and hopefully entertaining. We'll do our very best.
I know the entertaining part. That's uncomfortable with. The inspiration, we'll see.
I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be okay. So yeah, and obviously I'm excited about that whole adaptation and change, because obviously that's probably pretty common in your space. A lot of change, a lot of adaptation, learning and growing and trying to improve all the time, right?
Yep.
Trying to make the shows different each year, and that's a challenge. That's a challenge. Okay, so before we jump into the questions, it would probably be helpful for our audience to know a little bit more or know something about Renfro Productions and Management. So if you would, just high level, what is Renfro Productions? And what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it's kind of a double, there's multi layers to that. So what we do is we run and produce the Indianapolis Boat Sport and Travel Show, Deer Turkey Waterfowl Expo, a Fall Boat and RV Show, consumer trade shows.
Yep.
And for the people who aren't familiar with that, is the way we do it is we go to the fairgrounds. We go, hey, we want to rent 6 of these buildings. And they go, okay, here's the buildings. Now it's our job to take those buildings, create floor plans. And then now we have to go sell all that floor space to businesses like RV dealers, boat dealers, travel and tourism companies, tackle, all the companies around the country and even the world that we sell space to, that they come in and then they set up at our show. So now on the flip side, now that's one part of our job, is to get that sold. Now the other part is we got to sell tickets to this show. So when people are coming, they're the businesses that bought all that space, we're putting people in front of them that are interested in their companies. So it's not like we want to set up a mall where you have all these people who have no relevance to the outdoors. So we have to be really niche marketing, where when people are coming through that door, they're an outdoorsman or someone who's interested in the outdoors. You know, big thing for us is we love exposing people to the outdoors. And this is a great spot where you can get your first fishing rod. You can plan that fishing trip with your buddies that you've always wanted to do, but never bit the bullet. But once you're talking to the guide, you get excited at the show and you're like, you know what, let's do it. So that's a big part of our company is we have to get a lot of people in front of them, but we got to get people who are buyers there too. So that's a multifaceted kind of way of our company, and kind of a quick overview of what we do.
Yeah, so it's double. It's double. There are 2 things you have to look at. You have to actually. And that has to be a great challenge every year. I mean, you hope people come back. You get repeat business and everything. Oh, yeah. But so you have to get people there to actually sell things to the visitors, right?
Yep.
And then you have to find the people, and you have to make the exhibitors happy by bringing people in.
Yeah, and you also have to make the attendees happy by making sure that you keep a good variety.
Yes.
When they come to the show and they spend the money there and they're there, you want them walking out that's the value of their ticket was there, and they got to buy the what they are looking for. And we do a really good job at that.
I just could you imagine if you had double the shows?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
That's
it would
crazy.
It definitely makes winter go by really fast.
One more thing I'll ask you before we jump into the origin of Renfro. So, do you guys? What's your busy season? Do you ever have downtime? Like when the shows end, how much time passes before you're back at it again for the next season?
Yeah, so over the first couple of months, we're really slow. Other companies are still there's a show circuit. So a lot of a lot of our travel companies, fishing tackle, the smaller mom and pop stuff, they're still doing shows up until about mid-March, and then that's usually when the consumer trade shows kind of wane off, because now it's springtime. People who are outdoors people are outside.
Yeah, they're doing the things.
Yes. what our show represents.
What your show represents, right?
Yep.
Right,
So
right.
that's a really slow time, and that kind of lets us catch our breath.
Okay.
Then the summertime, we start gearing up again. We start getting our sales stuff ready. We start, getting contracts out for next year's show. And then it's kind of like a slow snowball from there. So then as we get closer, it gets bigger and bigger. And then, as we get into the fall, then we're really off to the races. And then it's just lightning speed until March. So it's one of those things you blink and it's like it's over. But so when COVID hit and we didn't have shows that winter, I didn't realize how long winter was, because it was the first time we didn't have shows. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this winter sucks. I mean, this is a long time, but when it's regular show season, and we're out there doing what we do, I mean, it is one of those things. You have something to do every single day. During showtime, you're there on the floor at the show. I mean, you live there, and I love that part. I mean, that's what you work all year for. And as stressful as it is, it's also the time I thrive the most.
Yeah, the fruits of your labor, right?
Yeah.
It must be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
You guys must be really hyped up when the show actually starts.
There's nothing better. One of my favorite times of the year is walking into those buildings when nothing's in there. Because they're just cattle barns. In Indianapolis. They're just, it's the cattle barns. There's nothing special about them when you go in there empty. But by the time Friday at 1 o'clock hits, it's a beautiful show with carpet, lights, beautiful boats, RVs. Everyone's booth looks great. It transforms from this barn to an amazing, beautiful looking show. And it's just that feeling when you walk on there in the morning, you kind of get chills knowing that, all right, this is time, it's go time. All that hard work that we did before, it's time to put it in action, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. That'll lead nicely right into my first question. So let's hear a little bit more about that, because I think there's what you just shared kind of ties back to your grandfather and your grandma. So do me a favor, share a little bit about the origin story of Renfro Productions, how it all began, where it all began, and who were the original owners, and what was their vision for Renfro?
Yeah, so I forget the guy's name that my grandpa bought the show from, but a little background on that. It was my grandpa acquired the show right after the Coliseum blew up during, I think it was an Icecapade. It was something like that. The tanks blew up and it was a tragedy. But wow. And then what happened was the guy who was running the show, that was like, he just wanted out. And my grandpa didn't have two nickels to rub together.
Really?
So he was doing a little bit of sales for them. They just moved, I believe, from California to Indy, trying to make ends meet. And
this is your grandfather or grandma?
Yeah.
Did they have any kids at this point?
Yeah, they had all of them. So
okay.
Yeah, I think my dad was just born. So he got the show. Yeah, my dad was born in 63, and we took over the show in 63.
Wow.
But basically, my grandpa having no money, he's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but he went to the cheese curd guy at the state fair, who did cheese curds at the state fair, asked him for a loan, and then that was the money he used to acquire the show in the early 60s. And then that's how the family business started. And then later on, I think in the early 70s, my grandma came on board, and then because she was taking care of the kids, they got a little older, so then my grandma was there, and then they ran that show, wife and husband, with support staff. But that's how we kind of got started. Was the cheese curd guy I don't know where he's at out there, but I owe him a big thank you there.
How many kids did your grandparents have?
So my grandma had one previous to their marriage, and then they had 3 boys, my grandpa and grandma.
Were they also? So, back in those days, sometimes those things family businesses became legitimate family businesses. You talk about only not having much money.
Yeah.
When their kids, your dad and the other 3, when they got old enough, did they start actually helping out with the business in those early years? That wasn't as common back then.
So they were always around the show. I mean, the shows back then were we have so many historical photos, and just, obviously I wasn't there, so I can't speak to it too well, but from the stories I've heard through the years, the stories are endless. It's just because we used to have big stage shows. It just was a huge production in that, and that's back when people would go to the show wearing a suit and tie.
Yeah.
So just a whole different way of how things were back then. So there's pictures of my dad and his brothers always at the show, always around, but they didn't actually get into the company full time until my grandpa passed in 86, and then they all kind of jumped in. But before that, they were always there at the show helping out whenever they could, but they all had separate jobs at the time.
Didn't you say something? Please forget. Was your grandma? Didn't she take a prominent role at some point as well?
Yeah, she did. So my my grandpa had something come up where he wasn't able to be there for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and then so my grandma had to step up, and that's how she got in. And then
That's wild.
she was able to keep the it going, and then my grandpa was able to come back, luckily. And
Oh, good.
But yeah, that's how she got in there. And my grandma was known to be a tough woman in a very man's world.
Right.
And the consumer trade show was a very male driven
Oh, I bet.
market, and grandma, she could hang with the best. She had no problem with that.
Tough as nails, huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. That's
People shook when she came in the room if she was happy. Oh yeah. Exhibitors knew her. And they I was actually down on Reelfoot fishing with Billy Blakely with why am I spacing their name? I go there every year. But Billy Blakely with Blue Bank Resort.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Bank Resort's one of the places I go, and phenomenal resort, best crappie, best bluegill fish, and duck hunting. Shout out to them. They've been part of our show for over 40 years, I believe. So been with us for a long time. And Billy was telling a story about, he goes, people next to him were causing a little bit of ruckus, and my grandma thought it was them. And she came over there and lit them up, one backside to the other.
Wow.
And he goes, Miss Renfro, I'm sorry, it was not us. I promise you that. But she came down the aisle. If you were in trouble, it was like mom coming down, and she'd scold you. So
There's something about strong women. I remember, even as a kid, the person I feared the most, I kid you not. I mean, before we started this interview, we were talking about authority and strength, and how that is, how that's delivered and how that's received. And I kid you, I mean, I feared my mom and my dad and the bullies on the street. We know what all that stuff, but man, the person I feared the most was my 4'10" grandmother. And when she got angry and I saw that look in her eyes, I was petrified. And she was nothing. I mean, she was so tiny, but I loved her. And she loved me. But when I got in trouble, the first thought that came to my head was, "Oh boy, grandma's coming," and I got it.
And I'm glad you kind of touched on that, because I was talking about how hard she was, but she also was loved on the floor. I mean, people loved Maxine.
Yeah.
She was one of those people you could hear a laugh down the hallway, and it was infectious. And that was part of the magic of that show, is she was good at relationships with the exhibitors.
The greatest leaders are the ones that can balance that love and respect, right?
Yep.
Where you're loved, but you're also, because of that love and because of that relationship, you're also respected, because you command it based on how you carry yourself and what you represent as an individual. So that's really cool. Yeah, but that wasn't even just a male-dominated space. I mean, the marketplace back then was just male-dominated, period.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fascinating.
Yep, that's why my daughter's middle name is Maxine. So I mean,
really?
Yep.
Oh, that's nice.
I wanted to keep that going, and then my grandpa was the same way. He was a hard guy that people knew you didn't want to cross Harry, but at the same time, he just was loved all by everyone. I mean, there's so many pictures of everyone just joking with Harry and them laughing, and they ran a really great show, and up until when he had a sudden heart attack in '86. So that's what kind of changed things. But that's when my dad and his brothers jumped in after that.
I'd be interested in seeing some of those photos. I love historical photos. It'd be really neat to see a picture, on your website. Obviously, you show that fast speed, and you can see how the show. But that would be really neat to see people come in, and they're coming in to buy fishing related stuff in their suit and tie.
Oh yeah,
that's wild.
It's a whole different world. And then my dad jokes about the Miami Vice days. So everyone, when the Miami Vice was on TV, everyone tried to emulate that, the 80s, ties and stuff. And I give him crap when I see those pictures, because he looks goofy. But that's how the times were. And like, now I'm gonna look back when I'm younger or when I'm older and think I would look goofy. But that's just funny. Part of it, right?
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys have been doing this for quite a long time. Yeah. And there's a lot we can talk about. One of the things I'd like to hear is just, things change. What are some things that haven't changed? What are some traditions that Renfro has that have been there since the very beginning, when your grandparents were doing this, to now? Yeah. Is there anything that's storied and still in place, something you still carry with you today?
Yeah, corn dogs. No, I mean,
corn dogs.
There's always corn dogs at the show, but
that's a good tradition. Yeah, I'm sure some people appreciate that.
I think, far as things, I think that's a really good question, and I think what it is we just strive to bring in what people are looking for. I mean, the boats, the RVs, the fishing tackle. I mean, we work really hard at when people come to the show, it's their cure to cabin fever at that time of the year, where they can come out with a family. It's a family event too. It's something that the whole family can go enjoy. And that's a tradition that we take really serious, where we know people come out. It's you know, I'm a generational person working in here, but there's generational families that come to the show. You know, I can't tell you how many times I talk to people, hey, I used to come here with my grandpa, and now I'm here with my kids. You know, you hear that kind of story all the time.
That's really cool.
So that kind of tradition, it's a family tradition, and it's something that people look forward to all year. I mean, and you see it when the gates open on a Saturday morning, and it's the lines out the door, and people just can't wait to get in and just go out and just, again, get that cabin fever itch, and then, you know, plan their trips. I mean, how exciting it is in middle of February, you have nothing going on, and then you go to the show and you book that trip that you can't wait to go to. So you walk out of that store, or you walk out of the buildings knowing, hey, in a couple months I'm going fishing on Michigan Lake, or a couple months I'm going on a moose, or several months, but I'm going on a moose hunt that I've been dreaming of my whole life. And then that's just that kind of exciting thing where they know they're going to be able to go in there and do. Or if you're not in the market, you still get a good time walking around with your family, looking at things. There's activities that we have for kids. I mean, who doesn't like looking at RVs? I mean, every year.
Boats are fun. My daughter and I were just talking about, we need to go to next year's show, because I'm not in the market for a boat right now. But
that's what you think until you're at the show.
I know. But I mean, I tell you what, it is fun to walk. It's even if you're thinking about getting it sometime, there is fun. There's just an energy and an excitement of being at one of those shows. And walking through the RVs is fun. Walking through the boats is fun. Just checking out, you know, you discover things that you didn't even know existed that can just make your hunting or your fishing or your vacation experience even better. It's just really cool stuff.
Oh yeah, and like just the innovations through the years, watching the boats transform into what they are today, especially in the wakeboarding world. Oh my gosh, what those things can do! It's just the computers in them, and like they can. There's a setting you can put in with your weight, your height, your riding ability, and then which side of the wake you like the most, and then that boat will use that, and it will pitch weather way and use the weight distribution to make the wake, ideal to that specific.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, that's why they're priced that they are, but they're incredible. What they can do with those things. And then
it's like the sleep number of boating.
Yeah, it's insane what they can do with that. And then the RVs, it's amazing what they can do with a couple inches on the slide house. It's like, how did you do that? How did you add that whole...
The technology's crazy.
It's just crazy to watch. And I think the other thing too is people don't realize how accessible they are. They come in, they think, oh, I can't afford this. But then you get there and you realize, oh, there are ways to afford this if this is something your family wants to do. And we saw a big spike of that during COVID because no one else had anything to do. So the RV sales went skyrocketing.
Right.
And we were thinking there was going to be a big dip afterwards.
There wasn't.
That dip happened because people were out with their families and going, you know what? This is high quality family time. And people were seeing the outdoors. It was the best thing. Not the best thing, but it was a silver lining to it all, I guess, is people come out to the show sometimes have no idea that they're in the market. And then they go, wait a second, I think we can do that. Let's go talk about it. And that's where a lot of times the ball gets rolling. It's just crazy what you see and how small the campers can be to how big the campers can be.
I've heard you mention fishing and moose hunting. So obviously a lot of different areas are covered in your show. But what are you most enthusiastic about? What's your love? What do you like to do?
I get that asked a lot, and it's always a tough one because growing up in it, we do it. That's one thing we take pride in too. Is we're show producers. We walk the walk and talk the talk. My dad. We always joke the R&D research, at our company is thriving because we think that when we go out hunting, when we go out fishing, it's we love it, but it's also us wanting to know when we go talk to a ship captain or a guide, I understand what they do, and not completely, but I have a better understanding than, most. And so I grew up doing all this stuff. My dad's been a very important part of our lives is being outdoors. So every building offers something. If I had to pick though, I do love our Deer Turkey Waterfowl Expo. I love hunting. I spend a lot of time in the woods. And that's all. It's its own show, but takes place on the second weekend of our Boat Sport and Travel show. But it's in its own building, and I think that was one of my favorite shows to work on this last year, because we had a phenomenal show, just with the variety of hunting gear that we had there. It's like it's tough. I mean, I'm there to try to, like, come out making some money, but when I go through those aisles, I'm spending money just as fast. There's too much eye candy, man. Yeah,
you're supposed to be working, Mitch. Come on.
It's great when you're the first one there because you can kind of go around. My dad and I will go to each aisle going, all right, we like that, and then we'll go talk to him like, hey, save that for us, and
that's really great. That's great, though. You guys all kind of live out. You guys are enthusiasts also, because that probably makes you better producers. It probably helps you. My guess is that probably helps you be objective when it comes to evaluating your own work and trying to improve and make the experience even better next year. And I know that's hard. I mentioned that earlier. That has to be hard to do. How do you, all these years of doing this, like how do you make it better year after year? That has to be such a creative challenge.
Yeah, it's knowing it's knowing how to talk to people and know that they're, we take pride in, when we talk to exhibitors, it's, hey, we expect the booth to look good, and like, and because it reflects on you, it reflects on us.
Sure.
So, and then, that just comes with experience. I mean, growing up, I don't know how else I had to describe that other than just knowing your business and knowing the importance of appearance, importance of quality. People who go to shows around the country can pick out a show that they know is struggling maybe based on what kind of booths are there. So we take pride in, when we have booths, they're high quality booths. And that's very important. It's about telling someone's calling you that, it's not a high quality booth. There's, hey, here's my credit card. Nope. I'm going to put you on a waiting list because I know I'm probably going to have someone else that's going to fit that better.
Interesting.
And being able to manage your exhibitors that way. And then that helps other exhibitors. Because here's the thing. People who come to the show, they want to see that. And they want to see the quality. That's why people drive 5 hours. That's why we're a regional show. And it's because if you're driving from a far distance, you don't want to come to a show that doesn't have what you're looking for. And we only have a finite, amount of space. So it's like I can't make those buildings any bigger, right? So I got to make sure that little space that I have, well, we have a big space, but even that, it seems small sometimes because it's like you have so many people wanting in, but you got to make sure that you weed out the people who aren't, to the theme of the show.
Yeah.
And so we do a really good job of that, and I think that's part of a little bit of the reason why people come back every year is we keep the quality up.
Yeah, and have people there that really feed into that experience. Because I know it's a show, I know it's a production, and I know there are transactions, people are buying things. But my guess is you want people to walk away and go, that was so much fun. I had such a great time. You want them to have an experience, right? Yep. I mean, you have to.
And then exactly, you want that experience, and not just for dad. You want it for mom and the kids too. So it's one of those things. If the whole family's having fun, then they're more likely to spend more time there. The more time they're spending there, the more likely they're going to shop. So that's why we have things like the trout pond. We have little motorcycles for kids that they can ride. We have shows, dogs flying through the air. We usually pair that up with another act, such as like lumberjacks or pogo stick guys from America's Got Talent. We do these kind of things where
awesome.
It's a dynamic show. People can come out and experience, just fun.
Yeah.
Shoot, for how much you can buy a movie ticket. It's the same price as a movie ticket, but instead of just going to see a movie in a dark room, you're out there with your whole family, running around, laughing.
Oh man, you could be there for days
and creating a memory.
Heck yeah! If you really take your time, you could be there for days.
Oh yeah, that's why we sell a 2-day ticket.
Yeah,
because we know that happens very often where people get there, they have no idea, they get lost, no matter how many signs I put up, and they need to come back. It's a great thing to see.
It's amazing the building. Sometimes people say things like, it looks bigger from the outside, it looks bigger from the inside. So if you go to the State Fairgrounds, obviously it's huge. And the building looks really big. But your shows actually, the building looks big. And then you go inside and you walk from one end of the show to the other end of the show. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not even trying to be funny. It's a long walk.
Yeah.
So when someone, like I was at one of your shows and I was on one end and the person I was trying to get to was on the other end. So, and I'm telling you, it takes a while to go from one end to the other. I mean, I wouldn't say I was tired, but I definitely was like, whew, that was far.
Oh yeah.
That's a big place.
Yeah. When we're setting up, I think my record was I walked 10 miles one day and it was during a setup day. It's just because I'm going back and forth so much that it's just.
How many miles? Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
your legs must be exhausted.
Oh, yeah, you burn some calories that time of year, but that's the thing.
Oh man!
And there's always something going on. I think the only time I'm sitting down is when I'm trying to, shove my face with some food just to keep going. But other than that, we take, that's another thing too. We take pride in. We're show producers that are always on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, when you buy a booth from us, you're going to see the person who's sold it to you. If you have a problem, there's not going to be some person that you never met before. You're going to see an owner.
Yeah.
And an owner is going to be there and he's going to be helping you out.
That's really
cool. That's something we take pride in, is we're very visible. We don't go hide in an office and hope the show goes well. We're out there working. Yeah,
and with you being on the sales side, it's probably nice for you to be able to, a lot of your exhibitors, you probably don't meet them until they're at the show.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and I just talked to them on the phone.
That's
and
it.
Sometimes you really hit it off. People are like, man, I look forward to meeting you when you come to the show. And then they get there and you meet them and it's a great time. And then on top of that, I've had, we've had exhibitors with us for, I think the oldest one is 50 years. I know a couple of boat dealers. So again, then it's like a small family reunion at that point, where you see these people, you've known them all these years, you look forward to seeing them. I have definitely some exhibitors that, even since I've been 2015, I've known them since then. I've developed some great relationships with people that I look forward to seeing them every year. And then I try my best to go around to every single exhibitor. We have a lot of people, so sometimes it doesn't work out because I get pulled off or whatever. But I try to say hi to every single person. I try to say bye to every single person.
Wow.
And,
wow.
Yeah, it takes a couple days.
I bet you it does. Yeah, can all you exhibitors just hang around for a little while? I'm going to come around and say hi to all of you. What are some of, and again, I know you've been doing this for many decades, but either through your personal experience or stories that have come down, just knowing the history of Renfro, what are some of the landmarks or milestones? What are some shining moments or some big moments in the history of your company that stand out for you?
Again, this is, some of these areas are, I wasn't there, so I can't speak truly to them, but
sure.
I think, I think what would be a big one was when my dad really started taking off in the show and how much he expanded it.
Okay.
He took that show and with his vision and his ability, he made it to what it is today. He created what was a very well-ran show, well-respected show, and made it the largest boat sport and travel show in the country.
Oh, okay.
So, there's, as far as the boat sport and travel show, we are the largest in the country right now.
Okay.
And my dad, that was through his vision, and I think that was a big milestone when he started building that stuff up, and then adding shows to it like the Deer Turkey Waterfowl Expo, and then and just adding that and just keeping that tradition going while expanding. And then always being able to expand no matter the market. We didn't downsize during 2008. Again, I wasn't here for this, but hearing from my dad, it's like, a lot of shows struggled there. We kept our footprint, and I think that's a big feather under his cap in the company itself. Is we kept going in that way, and so those are kind of milestones there. Other than that, every year has its own just victories. Things that we do different, like we did a camper giveaway. 2 years in a row now that have gone, and then a boat giveaway. It was a boat and an RV giveaway last year.
A boat giveaway.
And an RV giveaway.
Wow.
So, and we made it fun. Like, this is, what we did was we had contestants sign up. We invited them to the last day of the show. And then what we did was the whole audience was, the stadium was packed, and every contestant had to go draw for a dog. So everyone got a different dog. Okay. So then the dogs would line up.
Oh my goodness.
And then they would jump. So then based on how far the dog jumped would be the order they get to pick a key. Right? And so, and like the dogs were all varied from a bulldog that would just puddle jump, and then to just a stud of a lab that would go 30 feet. So, and this is like the NBA lottery. Yeah, it's just fun. It's just the whole family there. They're all laughing. They're all, and the contestants are all shaking. And then what we would do is they go and pick a key.
That's
and then
funny.
One at a time, they go up to the RV or the boat, and whatever key fit was the winner.
Okay, so we got a little bit of NBA lottery, a little Price is Right.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
There you go.
So like when those ideas, and it was fun, and then people loved it. And luckily, each year we did it, the first person with the key didn't win. So there was a little bit of that. You don't know. If the first person wins, it's like, but I think the third person won the first year, and then I think it was, I don't know. Each one was, there was that build up. and we pair that with a radio. So they have a radio host there with them, just as an MC pumping up the crowd, and
awesome.
So those are like the little milestones that you get, because like those ideas start this time of year, and that's what starts. And because that doesn't just happen in a month, that you have to get a boat dealer online, you have to get a radio guy online. Let's make this fun. Let's do this, and because it's got to be worth it. And it's a great time, and people get a free boat and RV out of it, and the ecstaticness coming from their face when they see it. We're all there, we're videotaping it. We talk to them, we take pictures with them, and so those are the kind of things that when you're building it up all year, and then you actually do it,
it's fun.
And it goes off the way you're supposed to.
That's awesome.
Those are the kind of stuff that it's like, this is why we do this.
That's really cool. One of the things that we do at Element 212 is we help. One of the areas that we help our clients with is staying relevant. One of the things we've noticed is that traditions are good. The way we do things here is good, especially among family businesses. Traditions are important. Holding true to certain practices and principles and values absolutely are important. But also, the way people buy, it does change. Expectations from one generation to the other, the way they interact, the way they experience things. So, you got to figure about 70 years. You talked about people used to be in a suit and tie. Now they're probably showing up in,
you see
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, okay.
But people watching can be pretty fun.
Yeah, that can be pretty fun. Yeah. So how is it? And maybe you can only speak to the time you've been there. I don't know how much things have changed, but again, you've been a part of this since you were in diapers. So, how has Renfro managed to stay relevant? You talked about how the consistent you guys are, and how the show grows, and how it's evolved and everything. But how do you stay relevant from one generation to another? How are you guys able to do that? Because even though a lot of things stay the same, a lot of things change, as the phrase goes. So how do you think Renfro's managed to do that?
I think you kind of hit on it already. It's consistency. It's what we do is every year has its challenges, far as what you're dealing with. And, it's weird. Never, 1 year's never the same. There's always something going on. Things become more expensive. Things do this, things do that. What do we do here? What do we do there? But one thing that, why people choose to come to the show every year is because it's a quality show every year.
Okay.
And I think that is truly the key to what we do. It's, it's not like rubbing a lamp and coming up with something magical. I mean, sometimes staying relevant isn't as complicated as it needs to be. It's just sometimes get to the grassroots of it. And it's about being consistent.
I love that.
And then how you do that as a company, that's a secret.
I love that. I really do. Being a branding and marketing company, we're always trying to be creative and strategic, and it's not, it could be a challenge, month after month, year after year, to always be coming up with a new idea and thought. There's so much competition and everything. So that's really, I love what you said there. It's like, you want to evolve, and you want to grow, and you want to come up with creative ideas like giving away an RV and giving away a boat and that kind of thing. I think that's really cool. But so you think there's actually an advantage for people to come. Maybe there's something new every year, but they come knowing that they're gonna come and get what they expect to get from it.
Yeah, and I think kind of to double down on it is sometimes I think companies get too creative where they lose who they are.
Right.
And it's like your identity is be proud of your identity. We've been in this show for 70 years. We know who we are. We're a family-owned business. We care about our exhibitors. We care about our attendees. We never lose sight of that. And with that comes the consistency of the quality of the show, and that's why people choose to come back every year.
So if you lose sight of that,
you're in trouble. And you're starting to, if you're trying to change too much, it's kind of the adage of you can be okay at a million things, but or you can be really, really good at something.
I love that.
And that's something awesome. That's kind of how I think our philosophy works is, we work consistently, we work hard, we know what works, we know what people need, and we know how to make it happen.
So it's almost like, so it's not necessarily, if I'm hearing correctly, my dad used to tell me he was in the advertising business, and that was different back then, but this was pre-digital, but he always said, don't get lost in the creativity. I always love that. Like, don't get if you try to be too creative, you'll lose your foundational purpose. You'll lose that purpose and focus. What I just heard from you is really cool. So at Renfro Productions, you guys aren't focused on being creative. You're focused on just always being better at what you always do, that you already do well.
Yep.
How can we be better at this is who we are, this is what we do, and how can we always be consistent in this and be better at this?
Yep, and that does take creativity too. So it's like, don't be snagged in creativity.
No.
There's ways to be creative, but also just don't lose where you're from. Like
That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly what you're saying. Yep. So it's
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
No, I got it. Yep. Nope.
It's always better when the guest articulates it better. The people listening and watching are just like, man, thank God his guest pulled together for him.
But yeah, no, it's exactly it. It's like it takes a lot of work and the creativity, but we don't lose who we are, and that's something to be proud of.
Right. I should have just let you say that and been done with it. That was my fault. I tried to build off what you said and try to make it into something more. See, I got lost in the creativity. See what I did there?
See, that was you were just trying to do an example. That's all.
I was trying to just one up you, and I just screwed it all up. So, no, that's okay. So, what? So, how many? You guys are regional. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to bring your competitors into anything, but obviously there are outdoor enthusiasts everywhere. How do you guys feel? I know you've already shared a lot, but and maybe this question doesn't garner any additional information. But there's a question I want to ask you is, what impact? So you have your exhibitors, you have your attendees, but then you have this thing called outdoor enthusiasm, and now these people come to your show and they go out into the world. How do you feel you have impacted not just having a great show, but how do you think you impact the outdoor enthusiast space and lifestyle and everything like that? Like, how do you feel you impact what happens after the show?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I'll kind of start with
you're being too kind. It was a horrible question.
No, I like this because I know because actually this is kind of this because we do impact the outdoor world. Mm-hmm. My grandpa is actually inducted into the Fishing Hall of Fame because of the shows.
No way.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So if you go up to Hayward, Wisconsin, where the big muskie is, he's got a plaque there, and it is about what we did for the outdoor world. What the consumer trade shows do for the industry itself.
So I was going to say your impact on the industry. That's really cool. Okay.
So because I kind of touched on it before, we do a Kids Day on the second Saturday where we do 500 rods to the kids, the first 500 kids that come into the show. Mm-hmm. Now, I've always wondered how many of those rods were the first rod a kid's ever touched.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff we do at the show like that where we want to, and I said this earlier too, is we want to expose people to the outdoors. We don't want the same, we want the same people to come in every year, but there's also, we want the people who are curious about it. People who are buying their first rod or their first bow or just something that they've maybe pandered with, but they get to talk to people. And we have seminars at the show for fishing and hunting where they can listen to pros, where if you're a guy who has no idea, your dad never taught you, your grandpa never taught you, but it's something that you've always been interested in, but you're clueless. Come to the show. We have seminars for people on the basics of fishing or the people who have been fishing their whole life. We got pros out of there that can talk to the very advanced stuff. So there, we help people get into the outdoors. Okay. And by doing that, by creating more outdoorsmen, well, we just created more customers for the people who are at our show. Mm-hmm. And that's how that works. So we do impact. We try our best to impact. We try, we work with other organizations that are about that. It's something that one of my favorite parts of it is the fact that's kind of our philosophy is exposing people to the show or the outdoors. I get more joy bringing my friends hunting than I do. When I've got my friend on his first deer, I'm just as pumped as when I shot a nice buck, and it's totally different. But it's when you're an outdoorsman and you love what you do, there's nothing better when you get someone exposed to it, and now they have a life hobby they'll be able to do the rest of their life.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to ask that question, and of course I asked it so eloquently, is I had that question because yes, there's the show, and there's a lot that goes into the show. There's a lot you guys are doing prior to the show, making it run smoothly and everything. But then the show ends, and people had that experience. They hopefully came and had fun, learned something, and now they go out into the world with their new whatever it is they took away from the show. Now they go out into the world and apply that, and hopefully have more fun out in the outdoors and life.
Yep.
And that's probably something you guys have to kind of keep your eye on as you're doing this too. The experience doesn't end at the show. Nope. The show's really just the beginning.
Yeah.
Now they're going to go out and they're going to do the things that they came and hopefully got excited about, and now they're going to go do it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fun thing.
Oh yeah. And then I talked to all of exhibitors, at the show, before the show, after the show, and you'd be surprised how many people book their first trip. And they talk about that, and they get listen, when you're a hunting guide, you're not doing it because you want to make money. You're doing it because you love being outdoors. Yeah. You love putting people on deer. I mean, every hunting outfitter that I've ever talked to is because they absolutely, this is what they want to, this is what they love to do. And so when they talk to new people, it's just like what we're talking about. Yeah, it starts at the show, but it goes past the show. And it is one of the rewards of doing this stuff, and why we take it. We're a family-owned business. We hear that stuff. It doesn't get washed out in a corporate, pool of suggestions, and no one really cares. We care. So when we hear those kind of stories, it kind of reminds you why we're here.
I think that's really cool. You and I talked about this a few weeks ago, but so you guys are a family business. A lot of your exhibitors are family businesses, correct?
Yes.
And then a lot of families are coming to your shows. Yeah. So it's really a family affair.
Yeah, it's a 3-tier family affair. That's for sure.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
I love that.
And that's again, like kind of talking on who exhibitors we talk to is we talk to family businesses. So every day I'm talking most of the time to the owner, and I'm talking to people who are passionate about what they do. And the best thing for me is, on a sales side for us, is I'm selling something that I believe in. When I'm talking to someone, and they, say they're just a startup company, they don't have, their budget's small. This is a big deal for them to drive all the way out here, book a hotel room for 8 days or 4 days, depending on the show, and put that kind of effort into it. Because to them, that's, it seems like that might be a nickel to a big company, but to them, this is a big deal. And I can go to bed easily every night knowing that I'm glad I convinced them to come to the show, because I know they're going to do great.
Do you have an opinion? Because I know there's no statistic or proof of it. Like, in your opinion, if you're able to even answer this question, but like when you told me that most of the exhibitors are family-owned businesses, that really was fascinating to me. Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many family businesses are in this space?
That's a good question.
That's a tough question, I know. And if you can't answer, it's fine. But it really strikes me I'm just fascinated by that.
I think it's just the industry, because we're in a niche industry.
Yeah.
Niches are huge, and we're in a. And I think that's the best way I can answer that is just, even the boat dealers are mainly, a lot of them are family-owned businesses. RVs are kind of going more to bigger companies. But fishing tackle, they're family owned. You're a shipping captain. No, you're obviously not a corporate there. You're your own boat, your own guy. So that's, I think it's just the way the industry's been. I mean, you see some changes happening in, some resort areas where what used to be 5 mom and pop shops are now one entity, but that's just kind of how the tides are changing anyways. But for the most part, that's just how I think, I don't really have a succinct answer on that one, other than just how it's been.
So it's been like that for as long as you can remember?
Yeah. It more so than before. It used to be back in it was, so it's always been a family. Yeah, it's a family affair for sure. It's been like that since the start. It's
really cool. I just love that.
I love it too. I love talking, and that's the best thing about it, is I talk to people who care about their business. They are truly passionate about it. Yeah. Sometimes that can be you're dealing with people who are passionate, and you can butt heads a little bit, and but everyone comes from a good space, and you're all there to do business, and but it's you're talking to people who care.
That's too bad Maxine isn't here to put people in line sometimes.
I could use her a couple times. I'm sure keep her in the office and let her go out when I need her. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Maxine's your daughter's middle. Maybe she'll carry on that torch.
Hoping so.
That's the expectation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Bring in my daughter. She'll get it all worked out. So, so what are your hopes and plans? We talked a lot about some of the history of Renfro and how you guys create such a great experience and what you guys offer, but without not looking for any trade secrets or anything, but just nothing specific. But what are your plans? What is the vision? What does the future look like for Renfro Productions?
Thriving. We're going to keep going. I think there is a with how big the internet is, I think there's going to be not a revolt, but there's going to be a balancing out of it, where our shows are going to become, they're going to stay where they're at because people want to come out, and they're going to be more important to people too, because they can come out and talk to the person. There's something about, I think there's this disconnect that people are starting to kind of getting over, instead of just going online and, typing in resort here, and then they get there and they don't have a good time because, there's fake reviews out there. There's just things that you might not melt. The example I use the most is if you're booking a $20,000 moose hunt, that's a big investment of money, right?
Man.
Are you going to go online and just type in moose hunting on Saskatchewan, and then the first one that pops up, you just go there and that's it? But now you're going to be in a wall tent with a guy for a week. Most of the time you're in pretty intimate situations with your guide, and for a whole week. What if you don't like them? You just spent $20,000, you're not getting your money back. And so this show, what these shows do is it allows people to go in and shop. So it's like there's not going to be just one moose hunt guy. You're going to talk to 5, 7 different ones, and you're going to talk to them. And then now, instead of just guessing if you're going to have a good time, you're going to have a good time because you've actually talked to the guide. You're comfortable with them already. Your personalities melt. And when you spend a week with this guy up in the woods, that you're going to walk out of there with a good experience.
So that's really cool. I like that. Didn't think of it that way. So what the show allows you to do, it allows you to bridge that gap between the past and the present, right? We all know things are driven by digital. I always tell people, it's no different than people that buy clothes. I'm not trying to, it's fine to buy. There are a lot of items that are perfect for buying online. But how often do people buy something and then when they get it, they go, oh, that's not what I wanted. They got to ship it back anyway. So it's great we have that ability. And a lot of times that works out just fine. But what's wonderful about what you just articulated is we have this thing called the digital world. And obviously you have to use that to your advantage. And you have to use that in all the ways that you're able to use it. However, you also want to have that human element you talked about when you go around and try to talk to all the exhibitors. Now the attendees, maybe they're interested in something, and yes, they can buy things online, and yes, they can learn about things online, but now they get to come in person, kind of old school, where it's like you're learning things through coming up to a booth, you're able to hold things, you're able to feel things, you're able to read about things that are right in front of you. You can talk to real people and learn a lot. So that's really cool. So your trade shows really allow people to live in the digital space, and you use that a lot with your business, getting your exhibitors, communicate with them. But once that show starts, this is experiential. This is hands-on.
And especially, even in our travel area, we have county tourism bureaus. And let's use Morgan County, for example. Well, Morgan County, when I talk to them, it's like, why is the show worth it for them? Because are you going to depend on someone out of the blue go, what sounds good? Morgan County. They don't know Morgan County. Right? But if they're walking down the show aisle and they see a Morgan County booth that has white river rafting, fishing, mountains, rivers, and it looks appealing, next thing you know, they're going to pull into that booth and go, where's this at? Oh, we're Morgan County, Kentucky. Oh, really? Do you have any more information? This looks like this is stuff we love to do. Now that's bringing tourism into their area that they would have never found on someone just relying on them to Google their county.
Right.
And I always say too, it's like, in the SEO world, the show's almost like putting yourself on the front page of an SEO page, on a Google page. And the best thing about it is someone clicks on your website, doesn't understand it, they don't have a chance to back out. They're talking to you, in that kind of sense. So because how people are, if they click on a website and it doesn't make sense to them,
they're off.
They're off. It could be 3 seconds and people are off. But if they come into your booth and talk to you, more than likely you're going to get more than 3 seconds to talk to them.
Sure. Especially if you have treats on the table.
Oh, and there's treats, and there's pens, and there's handouts, and you'll see the people who've been doing it for a long time and how good they are at it, and then you'll see the people who are starting to learn. And just there's secrets there's the show secrets on the exhibitor side for sure, and how to engage people.
That's awesome. Okay, so you've been doing this for quite a while. For you personally, what do you enjoy the most? What feeds you? What drives you? What gets you excited? We talked about it. There's a pre-show, a show. There's a lot that goes into this, but What's the thing that you personally are most passionate about? Where do you gain the most? It can be personally or professionally.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is my favorite thing is when I have someone call me and tell me their business changed because of the show.
Oh.
And I've had that happen. I just had it happen in Cincinnati. I was a van builder, and he was just starting. He's told me, he goes, my company is completely different because of your shows. And
Wow.
And he was one of those guys where the budget was low. I mean, this was a big deal for him to, one, take time out of his shop to be at the show, and also the booth costs and everything. And I convinced him to do it, and then that has happened many times where I think that what gets me up in the morning and does this is I know what I'm selling works. I know it helps people. It helps people's businesses grow, and then I love that. There's nothing better than I got a thank you card from a exhibitor last year. They took the time to go get a card and write a really nice note about how the show was ran, how they were treated, how the show was for them. And then, because again, kind of back to, we're dealing with small businesses, family businesses.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal when these people do well, because it's a big chunk of their, their profits each year.
Yeah.
And I know the risk that they take, when our booth's $1,000. Some people $1,000, like, who cares? But it's not just $1,000. It's $1,000, and then hotel rooms, everything else.
Travel,
There's a whole thing to it. So when they come out and like I said, I've said this before, but we have a really good retention on our booths. It's a lot of work each year, but we keep a really good amount of people every year because they come back every year. And we've seen companies start from very small to becoming very big just by being at the show consistently. And they've told us, hey, your show is a big part of where we're at today.
That's really wonderful.
And you're not just feeding into it. And nothing wrong with corporate. I keep saying it. But corporate, it is what it is. But when you have a mom and pop who are working their butts off day and night, putting everything they do is how they put food on the table. And they come in and they say, you helped us get to where we are. That's where you get chills. That's where you go home smiling, and you go, all the stress was worth it.
That's cool. That's what keeps you going in between the shows.
Yeah.
There's a time lapse in between.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that goes on, so you have to keep on going.
Yep.
You have to keep going. Are you guys, that just led me to ask one follow-up question to that. Are you guys able to garnish any feedback and input? Do you ever get thank you letters from the attendees? I doubt it, but
every once in a while, but we do a show survey that we send out to all of our exhibitors.
Awesome.
And that's kind of part of the, when I go out and say goodbye to everybody, I say, hey, you're going to get a show survey. I go, tell us. We can't, listen, if you have a problem, if you have an issue, if you have an idea, we can't do anything unless you tell us.
Yeah.
And communicate. And we take everything with a grain of salt. There's a lot of experts out there that think this would work, but we know it won't. But it's the same time.
If you're going to ask for ideas, you're going to get them.
We're going to get them. And we love getting their ideas.
Yeah.
You don't know. If you're not out there asking your clients what they're thinking about you, how do you know if you're doing a really good job? And so we take it very serious. We make sure we get that survey out to everyone. We actually have a meeting. We go over those surveys. We do look at them. It's not something we just send out to send out. It's important to us. Yeah. We learn a lot from those surveys, and it's helped us stay consistent.
Yeah, it's probably hard. It's probably hard to get feedback from the attendees because you don't have their.
Oh, we get a lot of those surveys too.
Okay, you do. So you do send out. Okay.
Yeah, we do them at show and post show.
Okay, so you're getting it from attendees.
Yep.
From their perspective, and then from the exhibitors.
Yep.
Okay.
So those are important things for us.
That is, and honestly, no matter how smart you guys are, how hardworking you are, how creative, you can't see everything, right?
You can't.
But how wonderful was that? Like, if maybe an exhibitor or attendee is making a suggestion that you guys can go, that'll make our show better. Let's do that. Yeah. And I think that's wonderful. Why not? Yeah. That's who you're trying to serve. That's who you're pleasing. Yeah. So if you can get good feedback from them, that's.
And we get some business habits from them too, what they're seeing in like stuff in the industry. It's a robust, it's a good survey. So it gives us good information. And that's why we tell them, when you get this helps us. If you want to see our shows keep going, this is not the only thing, but it's always about a piece of a pie. There's all this kind of comes into everything. If you take one slice out, you're missing something. You got to have all the pieces to be successful. And that's a piece of the pie is, listening to your clients, both attendees and exhibitors for us.
I love that. I love that. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. Before my final question, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to do the dad joke segment.
All right.
I did warn you.
Yep.
Okay. For those of you who have listened to a previous podcast, you know that we do a dad joke segment. It's real popular here at Element 212. So I'll ask you the question, and then when this posts, you'll be able to find the answer to it on our Facebook page. All right. So I always say, if you know the answer, don't say it.
Okay.
All right. Well, because we'll have to re-record this whole thing. No, just kidding. Okay. What do you call an alligator? This is one of my favorites. What do you call an alligator in a vest? What do you call an alligator in a vest? I'll say if you know the answer after we're done. So one more time. What do you call an alligator in a vest? So that's the dad joke. Play around with that. Don't cheat. Don't look it up. See if you can figure it out. And it'll be, go to our Facebook page and you'll find the answer. It's a good one. This is one of my favorites.
Well, I can't wait to hear it then.
I know. All right. So my final question is, there's so much to talk about. You guys have been doing this a long time. There's a lot that goes into your shows. There's so much, there are probably so many stories that you could be shared, so many things that you learned. Obviously, we don't have hours and hours to do that. But is there anything else that whether it's something that would be beneficial for the audience, or whether it's something that's important for you for the audience to know about Renfro, is there anything you would like to share that you weren't able to share because my questions didn't bring that out?
Honestly, I think great question. I think we covered a lot, especially far as how we view it, and I think I've touched on it a lot. Is we are a company that's based on relationships. That's what we take pride in. That's something we will always strive to do. We're always reachable. When you talk to someone, you don't have to go through press 1 to do this, press 2. You're going to have my direct line. We are a relationship building company.
Absolutely.
And that's something we'll always continue to do. And then, we can't wait to just keep doing what we do. And we have a really, when we sit down and look at the shows, we know there's a really bright future ahead of us. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep going. And there's going to be some things in the future to look forward to. And I can't say much, but, there's things that...
That's what I mean. Yeah,
I can't say
Don't share any trade secrets. Listen, don't do it.
Listen, we have a lot of great things working. We're very positive. We're looking forward to the future. And I can't wait to just keep connecting people to the outdoors.
That's really cool. And I hope that people will want to learn more about Renfro Productions after hearing this. That's obviously a hope as well. Yeah, that's what's really cool. The last thing I'll say to that is... your shows, there are transactions taking place.
Oh yeah.
But that's not what you go there for, and that's not what you remember. You go there and you go, man, I had a great time.
Yep.
I had a fun time.
And it's also a lot of fun when you're walking out knowing you just bought a boat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's a big part.
Little plug there.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay. That's awesome. Okay, so to learn more about Renfro Productions, go to Renfro, Renfro Productions.com. If you could, so just real high level, real quickly, and then they can learn this more when they go to your site if they want to learn more about that. But you have 4 shows, right?
Yeah, so Deer, Turkey, Waterfowl, Boat Sport and Travel Show, Fall Boat and RV Show, and then it's the Cincinnati Boat Sport and Travel Show.
Yeah, okay. Yep. So 4 shows. Okay, awesome. And then obviously on your site they can learn more about those shows.
Yep, all the information is there. Our lines are there, and then of course if they're interested in becoming an exhibitor, just give our office a call, ask for Mitch, and we'll look forward to talking to you. A lot of people that listen to this will probably be somewhere within the Midwest, so I'm assuming the way it sounded to me is like people come hundreds of miles for these shows, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are a regional show. For exhibitors and for... exhibitors were worldwide. Worldwide, right? We have people from New Zealand all the way to Alaska and Canada. No, you don't. Oh, yeah. Get out of here. Yeah, reg stag hunt guys, and then from all Canada, from each side. We pull... That's the best thing about it is you see people worldwide. How in the world are you getting people from... How are you doing that? Well, a lot of those people are especially the further out ones. They come here for the show circuit of. I understand that, but that's pretty cool. That's impressive. Hey, that's what happens when you're 70 years. People know our show. Wow. We are very well respected in the industry. People talk about our. When people are at other shows, mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people. Man, I was sitting next to this guy. He said, "I really need to check your show out."
That's wild.
So word of mouth is
so
a big
you're
part.
out getting exhibitors, and then you have exhibitors coming to you.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I truth be told, I had no idea that you had international exhibitors.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of African safari people. That's one industry that's come back on since COVID. They got hammered during COVID because no one could travel, but they're coming back on board. And then it's not just hunting; it's also safaris. So that's the thing. It's like people just cast it off as just hunting, which those are all really great things. They're great for the communities there. I mean, we can have a podcast on. I went on an African safari for my honeymoon.
Get out of here.
Yeah, my wife and I, instead of going to a wedding, we went to Africa and we did the whole Octavanga Delta. We did everything. I mean, we were out camping with the line. I mean, it was insane. But I got a lot of education on that trip on how the hunting works and everything. Like, I was already pro of it, of course, but when you take the time to actually learn about it. But anyways, I'm going to get in the weeds of that. That's okay. I can get on that. I was really, anyways. So we have, but they also do safaris. So if you're just a family wanting to go out and experience Africa, man, it's a wild, wild area.
You've blown my mind. I think I said, get out of here 3 times. I'm just like blown away. I just did not realize that. So, okay. All right. So, all right. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
this was wonderful. This was wonderful. I really do appreciate you being here.
Well, I appreciate the time.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a great time.
I know there's so much we can talk about, but again, I didn't want to get too deep into what Renfro. I want to know about the history. I want to know a lot about what the shows are about. Obviously, I didn't want to get into trade secrets and things that you guys have to keep in house and things like that. But this was informative for me. I had fun, so hopefully it was entertaining for our audience.
Yeah,
and I think I love. It's a good reminder to people out there: relationships, experience, real connections, adding value to people's lives, and we really touched on the heart and soul. We talked about that before we started this podcast. Customer service has just gone down the tubes, and I think people have lost sight of. And you talked about just staying true to who you are and being consistent. I mean, some of the things that should be consistent, a lot of people have just gotten away from. They're so focused on the transaction, and they're so focused on things that don't matter, that they don't realize that the things that really matter to people are those human connections, those relationships, adding value to people's lives. Putting a smile on someone's face, give them a fun thing to do for one day. I mean, that's what it's all about, and I think you touched on a lot of that, and I really appreciate that.
Well, great questions.
Yeah, well, you give me way too much credit. So to those of you out there listening or watching, thank you again for tuning in for another episode of Upping Your Family Business. If you like this one, we have some other ones. Just check out some of the previous ones we did, and obviously we'll have some other ones. If I keep finding guests, we'll keep doing this. I better not assume that, right? But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And again, I hope you learned something today. I hope you have found something that will add value to your business so you can thrive. And hopefully, if you aren't already, you'll be a 3rd generation business sometime soon. So thank you, and God bless.